Well, it is the third race of the year for the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, and we're on the streets. No, we're not down on our luck. Quite the reverse, actually. The speed limits have been rescinded. We can go as fast as we like, as we're at America's longest continuous running street circuit event. Yes, of course, we're on the West Coast, the left-hand side of the country, with a 1.968 circuit that has 11 corners and a bit of everything, really, with a long run down Shoreline Drive, then round the fountain and through, coming back on yourself on the other side of Shoreline Drive before you nip down onto Pine, down through Turn 8 on the inside of the circuit down to Seaside, and then back around to the end of the track. And we have a 3-category system that we will be racing with this weekend, which means we have 3 15-minute qualifying sessions. And good afternoon to Jeremy Shaw, who joins me in the Global Broadcast Centre. Hello, Jeremy, how are you?
I'm very well indeed, John. Thank you very much. How are you?
Yeah, all right.
Good?
Yeah.
Happy.
Looking forward to this. A very interesting couple of free practice sessions earlier on. We were tickling the old DPI times from last year. 1:10.3 is what Sebastian Bourdais did in his Cadillac a year ago, or actually not quite, but that's how it was then. And these new GTPs are clearly already getting up to pace from the times that we saw early on.
Absolutely they are, John. In fact, last year, the fastest time on Friday prior to qualifying was a 1 minute 10.9. Today, we've already done a 10.3. That was Tom Blomqvist in that second session, a little bit earlier this afternoon. So these cars are faster. I had an opportunity to speak to a few drivers this morning after that first session, and they all say, particularly the Acura drivers, that their car is working a lot better than it was in the past year. And even the Cadillac guys, they might not have been quite on the pace of the Acuras in that first session, but their cars, that they say here, are really fun to drive, and they're not as fast through the corners, sure, but they're significantly quicker on the straightaways.
So quite a few people making mistakes in braking areas, mainly GTP drivers in both of the first 2 sessions, and in fact IndyCar's just finished and we had exactly the same there. This is a straight circuit. It does change from year to year because it's got city traffic on it, and the bumps going into turn 1, into turn 6 and into turn 9 are causing 1 or 2 problems when the drivers are trying to slow down.
Absolutely they are, with these new, particularly for the GTP cars, of course. The GTDs, they're pretty much the same as they have been in the past, but these GTP cars are very different to the DPIs, and particularly in those braking systems. You were talking about it earlier on with the brake-by-wire systems and the regen and braking, all that sort of stuff. Quite a few of the teams were having difficulties this morning. I spoke to both Renke van der Zande and Sebastian Bourdais, and in that first session, they were having problems with their car. Also, one of the 2 BMWs, I guess number 25 car, I think it was, they were having problems as well in that first session. So, particularly with the electronics, talking to each of the other systems on the cars. And also, let's not forget it, this weekend, the teams have only 4 sets of tyres for the entire 2 days. So that's a lot less than they had in the past. So time management through those practice sessions has been really interesting. And of course, in that first session this morning, only the Carrera Cup cars have been out before the WeatherTech cars. So the track was still pretty dirty. And as a result of that, the track conditions were very different for the second session this afternoon. And so the teams had to be careful not to try to learn too much from that first session. You just have to live with that first session and then concentrate on that second practice a little earlier this afternoon in order to be ready for qualifying right now.
4 sets of Michelin tyres, only 2 sets for qualifying this session and the race tomorrow. That's how it's split up as well. We'll talk more about the prototypes when we get to them. Two classes of GT cars, GTD and GTD Pro. The cars, if there's a Lexus in one class and a Lexus in another, which there is, then the cars are identical in terms of performance potential. It is the driver lineups that split them into GTD or to GTD Pro. 2 sessions, I think I said 3 sessions earlier on. It will be all the GTs that go out first. And in terms of pace, Jeremy, how are we looking for the GTDs? And already a problem in turn 5 are coming together between the Inception number 70 McLaren, Brendan Arib, and that looked to me like the BMW of Turner Motorsport. It was... I think it might have been the Paul Miller racing car, the number 1 car, that just clipped the inside. Yes, it was, of Brendan Arib. He'd left a big hole down the inside, but he was turning into turn 5. I think that's a bit of a mistake by Madison Snow there. I have to say that is an outlap, and not sure what he thought he was going to achieve there. Everybody on cold tyres. In fact, actually, they were side by side right in front of Brendan as well. And race control will look at that. What you cannot afford here is any sort of time taken off. So if he's parked in the pit lane and has to drive through, that's going to lose him a couple of potential laps. Let's leave that to race control. Brendan has pointed himself back in the right direction. He's moving again. Times for GT and GTD and GTD Pro, Jeremy, look pretty solid as well in the 2 sessions we've had today.
Yeah, that's right. The fastest time last year for GTD Pro was an 18.3, I think that is, whereas the fastest time this morning was a 17.8 by Jack Hawksworth, a qualifying sim there in that second session. It was not the first session, the second session. So that was really good pace from Hawksworth. The lap record for qualifying around here for GTD Pro cars was an 18.0 by Jordan Taylor, who was on the pole position 1 year ago. So good pace this morning from that Vasser Sullivan Lexus car number 14.
You make a good point, Jeremy, about that second session, because we had all of the GTD Pro teams waiting until the last 15 minutes when only they and the GTP cars were out, the Pro cars were out. They slapped on a new set of tyres and did a qualifying sim, and all of a sudden, from languishing within the GTD field, the top 4 times in that second session were all GTD Pros, and there were big improvements. Expect to see the guys out there, 5 sets of tyres for the GTs, and expect to see these guys out. I would expect to see them out pretty much for the whole of the 11.5 minutes, which is all we've got left. At the moment, we're not in anywhere near the type of times we'd expect to see that will set pole position in GTD and GTD Pro, Jeremy.
No, that's right. I mean, they've done one flying lap right now, so they're on their sort of second lap now. So this time around, we should start to see perhaps some closer to representative times. I would think lap 4 or 5 would be the ultimate for these guys. As we see one of the Aston Martins there, it's number 23 car, the Pro car, Ross Gunn, getting past the Corvette, but also losing a track position there to the non-Pro car, Aston Martin as well, for Harter Racing.
And just a note as well, there are 2 classes here, there are 2 poles to be awarded. However, if 13 GTDs are quicker than the first of the GTD Pros, that's how they will line up. Yes, the GTP cars, the prototypes, will be at the front of the field, whatever happens in terms of their qualifying. Those 8 cars will be at the front of the field, but the GTs are, in terms of how they start on the grid for the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach tomorrow, they will be counted in that respect, Jeremy, as one class.
True that, and we've seen, haven't we, in the first 2 races of the season, both completely different venues to what we've got here on the streets of Long Beach. Daytona at the start of the season on the Roval, the oval road course, and then of course the Sebring, which is absolutely unique in any form of racing anywhere. Yeah, it's always been shuffled up in the 2 previous races, and as you say, it was again in both of the sessions we've had earlier today.
So whether you're here trackside in what is pretty nigh on perfect, air temperature has dropped down now. Oh, I'll come back to that in a moment, because we've got the Heart of Racing number 23 Aston Martin, 2 Heart of Racing cars out there. This is Ross Gunn, this is the Pro car.
Actually it's Ribberas. In fact, I think it was showing up on my thing here, which is surprising. It's normally, well, yes, Alex Ribberas is shown as the driver here at the moment.
Well,
Mistake, as you say, John.
And that was very close to the wall coming out of 6, and I think he's gone straight on at 8. Yes, he has, deciding to bail out and stays on Pine rather than turn right onto Seaside at the bottom of the hill going into turn number 8. So he pulled out of that with discretion. ... Fill in the rest yourself. Down to a 1:19.7 now for Marco Sorensen. Live in sound and vision, as all IMSA WeatherTech sports car qualifying in, whether you're here in the States or further afield. It's all free, no subscription required. And we've still got 8.5 minutes of this session to go. Hello to Jesse, who's trackside, listening to us on the PA. Safe Phil back in the UK, tuned in at after 1 o'clock in the morning. So thank you for that. What is it? Nearly 22 minutes past 5 in the afternoon here. And don't forget, livetiming.alcamelsystems.com/IMSA if you want to follow along the time. Monte Calvo to the top with an 18.8. The 2 Vassar Sullivan Lexus were very strong earlier on, and at one stage led both of their respective categories, and very close to the wall from Monte Calvo there. Hawksworth going through as well, and he is the best of the GTD pros. But there's Sorensen going through in the other Heart of Racing car, the number 27, and taking the best time in GTD. 1:18.5, the best for GTD, at 1:20.3 for the best of the GTD pros. Suggests we have slightly different tactics in getting the tyres up to pressure and temperature, Jeremy.
Fascinating, isn't it?
Yes.
Really interesting. We've now 9 GTD cars at the front before the first of the Pro cars. There's a slight mistake, it looks like, for Madison Snow, currently 3rd.
Turn 1.
BMW. Yep, so he's no harm, no foul. He's not hit anything. He's going to be able to continue. But as you say, the GTD Pro cars being a lot more patient in bringing their Michelin tyres up to proper optimal temperatures. Heart of Racing, Aston Martin 1-2 all of a sudden.
Wow. And that is a really good improvement by Ross Gunn behind the wheel of that number 23. He had a little bit of a whoopsie earlier, and now Jack Hawksworth finds the time and takes 3.5 seconds, nearly 4 seconds away from his best time with the Vassar Sullivan Lexus RCF GT3. We have just about, no, not quite, we've got a minute to go before we've passed guaranteed minimum green flag time to make this session quote-unquote legal. How about a 1:18.4 for the best of the pros and a 1:18.5 for the best of the GTDs? Lexus, Aston Martin, Lexus, BMW, Mercedes, Corvette. What does that, what do you see there? All front engine cars, the top 7 at the moment.
Wow, yeah, wow, very interesting. Very interesting. I saw the Lexus drivers last night. They came along to the Road Racing Drivers Club dinner at Long Beach. Jackie Ickx was a featured guest, by the way. What an evening that was, I tell you. It was absolutely spellbinding. Jackie was so much fun. But the Lexus drivers were all there, as were several other IMSA WeatherTech sports car drivers as well. And I was chatting to them about what their prospects for the weekend, and they sounded pretty optimistic. That's the oldest GTD car in its entire field, the Lexus. You talked about earlier on today, John, didn't you, with the newer car, the new car has been seen spied doing a little bit of early testing. But this old car is still working really well. What was it, 2006, was it? 7 that the car made its debut?
Yeah, and it was not an easy birth of development for that car. Spent a lot of time getting the balance of that car right to keep the rear tyres in particular under it. And wow, man, what a great piece of engineering that has been. It's done good service for Lexus. The new car out in Japan, testing under what were meant to be top secret conditions. You never know now if some of those leaked pictures are deliberately leaked or whether it was somebody sneaking in under the fence at Fuji, as it was for that particular car. We don't even know what it's going to be called yet, that new car, based on a brand new street car. We don't even know what it is powered by. We know very little about it at all, other than it's on its way. Another spin for Brendan Arieb. This is down at turn 5 again. Now, more black lines on the road. He's going to have to find reverse now. This could be a red flag. We've now met the guaranteed minimum green flag racing. As soon as we've gone through 10 minutes, the green flag is out beyond the inception dark grey and red car. Takes its inspiration from the old Lark BMW engined McLaren F1 GTRs and looks very good on that as well. You've got the intervention squad to go through, as on the end of the lap, Jeremy, we have a new fastest lap in GT.
Yeah, indeed we do. It's Marco Sorensen in at number 27, non-pro Harder Racing Aston Martin, 117.811. That is the new fastest time of the day for GTD, and it's also a new lap record both for GTD Pro and GTD. So it's a stalking lap from Marco Sorensen, just 7/100ths of a second quicker than Jack Hawksworth. And Sorensen's teammate, the pro car Ross Gunn, he's third overall at the moment, 2/10 back from the number 27 car.
2.5 minutes to go. Hello to Prix in Germany. Coming up to 2:30 in the morning there, rooting for BMW. Met lots of their drivers in person at the DTM events. Thank you, Tim, for tuning in sound and vision. Beautiful afternoon. 88 Fahrenheit, which is around about 31 on the track, 63 or 17 in the air, so this is good. We had it into triple digits on the track. 108 Fahrenheit, I think, was the highest we saw in the early afternoon here at Long Beach. It was a little cloudier this morning when we were in first practice and the Porsches were first out. Plenty of coverage for you, live coverage this weekend with 2 Porsche Deluxe Carrera Cup North America races, also live and free, unblocked in sound and vision. Oh my goodness, Arieb's moved away, but he hasn't got too far down the track, and it looks like, no, it's not Arieb, it's another red car. It's the Racer's Edge NSX that's clobbered the wall coming out of 8. There's Arieb going past them. My apologies, Brendan. He got pointing in the right direction. That might bring out a red flag. And oh, and there's another car in the wall. Now, does that mean there's something on the track? That's the EO Porsche. That's Rexy, the T-Rex car. Is there something on the track coming into turn 8? That's 2 big hits on the exit. We've got a red flag. That will be it as far as this qualifying session is concerned. But that's 2 hits at almost exactly the same place on the driver's left wall, coming out of turn 8, heading out of Pine onto Seaside Way. And that's 2 quite badly damaged cars there, Jeremy.
Yeah, I couldn't really see how much damage there was to the Acura. That was the car, by the way, that set the fastest time in GTD earlier in the hands of Mario Farnbacher, 118.516. But an
fire in the Acura. There's fire at the left rear of the Acura. Thought I saw some smoke there earlier on. And already the AMR safety crew are pulling up in their Chevrolet truck. We've got the intervention vehicle there as well. And that car needs some attention rather quickly. Also a big hit for the AO car as well, PJ Hyatt.
Yeah. And that's not a good sign when you crash and the yellow flags are already out. That's not good. I mean, several other cars went through there, so clearly he didn't slow down like you're supposed to when there's double yellow flags, which there would have been going into that corner. So that's a bit embarrassing for PJ Hyatt.
Ashton Harrison, by the way, who was doing a great job earlier on today, is out of the car. Looking a little bit shaky, has had to get across from the driver's side to the passenger side because she was so tight up against the wall. PJ doing exactly the same out of the bright green number 80 AO Porsche, and that's got some very, very heavy damage to the left front and the left rear, and that left rear wheel and tyre is very badly pushed in on the Porsche. Ashton clipped too much of the curb on the inside and might even have clipped the inside wall. And then I think there was some dirt and debris there. Very close call for the number 14 of Jack Hawksworth in the Lexus as he came through. Also for the Volt Racing car and the WeatherTech car. But then PJ was just going way too quick. He's actually moved the concrete barriers there. He was never getting round the corner on the trajectory that he came in.
No, I mean, it could be that he did the same as Ashton and so clipped that inside wall. Perhaps it wasn't totally conclusive from that angle. We didn't sort of see where the car was in relation to that inside wall as he went past the apex. But as he got to the apex, he was definitely going too fast. So, that's not good. That's going to be a lot of work for those two teams, John.
I know that curb is painted at 8.
He definitely hit that inside fence.
Yeah, I know that curb is painted, but there is a bump there as well. And it isn't a full curb, it's painted onto the tarmac. But there is a significant bump there that I was noticing earlier on in the day. And
there you go.
The witness marks at the apex, or just before the clipping point of turn 8.
I mean, that's a very good point you raised there, John, the apex and or the clipping point, because you've got that curb there, which is several feet away from the concrete barrier in order to give drivers a sight line through the corner. But it's a very flat curb these days, and all the cars go completely inside that. And they ignore that curb entirely, effectively. So they use the wall as the apex. Unfortunately, literally, is the case, I think, for both of those two cars.
Hello to Sarah Rigby, staying up tonight to support the Aston Martins. Well, she'll be happy. Heart of Racing of GTD at pole position. And they are the fastest of the GT cars. Hello to Sarah up in crew. Also to Moni Elysium, listening in whilst waiting for her husband to get home from work. Hello, Moni. Hello, Billy. And listening and watching, I hope, Moni, as well, with live free coverage available in the US. So Jack Hawksworth takes pole position for Lexus in the number 14 for GTD Pro, but he'll only be on the outside of the front row of GT coming to the green flag, because Marco Sorensen beat his time by 0.006 of a second, and the top 9 within a second, of which 4 were GTD Pros and 5 were GTDs. Pretty even split there, Jeremy, with Marco Sorensen, unsurprisingly, with somebody with his experience, particularly in the Aston, right up there with the pros.
Well, that's exactly right, George. Of course, that rule changed for this year. In the past, in GTD non-pro, it has to be the non-pro driver that qualifies the car. That rule's been changed for this year. I don't like that personally, but whatever. What do I know? Not much. Because in the past, it would have been the other driver, not the pro, that would have qualified in GTD. So I'm sure for tomorrow's race, now without penalty, they can change the starting drivers for the race. I mean, they might elect to start Marco in that car, and then towards the end of the race have Roman DeAndres run it, potentially, I suppose, because Roman, of course, is a silver driver, silver rated driver. So they might well stay as they are, because I think this year in all the races,
They, yeah.
you can have a non-silver driver qualify the car.
35 minutes minimum, 65 minutes maximum in GTD. In the pro classes, it's 5 minutes. So that shouldn't be a tactical issue for GTD Pro or for GTP. Just a little note on that, the 93 Acura Racer's Edge and PJ Hyatt's A-All Racing will lose 2 of their fastest lap. They're going to go to the back. Those cars are both going to need a fair amount of tender loving care and remedial work overnight before we go racing. The good news is it's pretty much 24 hours away before they have to be back on track late tomorrow afternoon. But that is a substantial amount of work, I would say, for both those cars. My worry, particularly with the with both of them, Jeremy, being mid and rear engine cars, they're both taking a big whack on the left rear wheel, which might have sent shockwaves up through the gearbox.
Yeah, indeed, and they were both very, very heavy hits. We saw those on those replays. So yeah, that's not the way that the weekend wanted to start for those teams. Ashton, she done a nice job in qualifying. They're 10th fastest. Pretty sure it's her first visit to Long Beach Street. So good effort by her there to be 10th out of the 15 non-pro cars. But as you say, she will lose not one but her 2 fastest times. So almost certainly to put her to the back of the pack. So the surprise there in that qualifying session was Jerome Blekemolen in, well, actually both Kelly Moss Porsches at the back, number 92 and 91.
And
Jerome Blekemolen. They were fast.
They weren't. They took a while to get going in the early sessions, and it was only right at the end that they began to improve. But there's something not quite right there. It's not as if all the Porsches are at the back, and we have seen, in fact, in that previous session, we saw Patrick Pilet top of the charts for a part of the time at the end when he strapped a new set of Michelins on. So 3rd for him in GTD Pro, 2nd row as he comes through. Probably he will have expected a little better than that. But there are 2 Kelly Moss with Riley Porsches at the bottom of the times as it stands. I suspect they will bump up a couple of places when that Racer's Edge Acura and the other Porsche of A-All Racing, the bright green number 80 Rexy, the T-Rex livery car, will drop behind them when they lose their laps. But that is not very Kelly Moss O'Reilly like, is it?
It's not, and particularly with Jerome Blekemolen and some of his experience. I mean, Alan Metney, he's new to the. Well, no, he raced here, of course, the Carrera Cup, didn't he, last year?
Yeah.
So he has experience here as well. But for Blekemolen, that's really a surprise, particularly as his co-driver Alec Udell was fastest in the first session earlier this morning in the number 92 car.
I just wonder if they've gone the wrong way somewhere and set up, because they weren't as quick in session 2, free practice 2 as they were in free practice 1. Let's give you the VP racing rundown then at the end of the 15-minute qualifying session for GTs. It will be Marco Sorensen and Heart of Racing Teams Aston Martin at least with a 1:17.811 who captures the pole position for GTD. That's his first pole. As Jeremy intimated there, normally if you are it has been the case rather if you've been racing with a non-pro driver that the non-pro driver had to do the qualifying. It's not the case now, so Marco released and able to show his pace and snatches the pole position in GT overall, if you will, by 0.006 of a second from the GTD Pro pole sitter Vassar Sullivan's Lexus RCF GT3. This is the number 14 car with the red wing mirrors, the red end plates to the wings, the rear wings, and to the red backing to the door numbers as well. And that was Jack Hawksworth who put that time in. Then it's 2 more of the pro cars. Heart of Racing's number 23, Aston Martin. In second place in GTD will be on the inside of row 2 with Patrick Peely and Pfaff Motorsports Plaid Porsche 911 GT3R. That's one of the new 992 shaped cars, brand new for this year. Saw that car debut, those cars debut at Daytona, and then back that up with a much better run at Sebring. Row 3, Tonio Garcia is 4th in GTD Pro for Corvette Racing, and he'll have Frankie Montecalvo and the Vasser Sullivan GTD Lexus. Now, it's the same colour as the number 14, it's the number 12, but it does have the green wing mirrors, wing end plates, door squares, and the little flashes on the end of the windscreen shade band on it. Behind them, it'll be Madison Snow and Mike Skeen for Paul Miller's BMW and Team Korthoff Motorsport Mercedes on row number 4. Then Misha Goikberg, he ended up in the escape road this morning for Forte Racing for the Lamborghini Huracan, with Russell Ward, Winward Racing alongside for row 5. And Frank Montecalvo, Jeremy just pointing out to me, is the fastest silver driver amongst all of that. 6th overall, 2nd in GTD, but the fastest non-pro, Jeremy.
Yeah, indeed. And but of course, with the rules these days, Marcus Sorensen as the pro driver in the number 27 Aston Martin, he is a platinum-rated driver. That's fine. But it will be Roman De Andres who will start the car tomorrow, but he'll also have the advantage of starting from the pole position. So, that's good strategic decision there from Harder Racing team, I believe. And Marco will be on the pole. But good effort there by Frankie Montecalvo. I mean, he came, he was just 7 thousandths, I think, quicker than Madison Snow to the honour of being the top silver driver. So, but a good, really good effort there from Frankie Montecalvo.
Well, great work as well by our track services, AMR safety team, and everyone concerned with the clear up, as we are already back to green flag in qualifying for the second of 2 15-minute sessions. Make that 20-minute sessions, excuse me. Just noticed that we started counting down a little earlier than I realised. And so now we get the GTPs. These cars, the cars you've just seen and heard, are nominally based on cars you could go down to your local Mercedes, BMW, Lexus, Porsche, Aston Martin, BMW, Lamborghini and Chevrolet Corvette dealerships and Acura dealerships to go and buy. Nominally, they are quite sophisticated racing cars, but you can see that they look like their street car counterparts. What we have now are the thoroughbreds. These are purpose-built, bespoke, prototype racing cars. No requirement to build a certain amount of them. They have to run an engine that comes from the manufacturer whose badge is on it, and IMSA has asked, in the same way as they did with DPI, that in the new GTP era, that the manufacturers incorporate some styling cues from their street and road car models into them. Now, they don't have to look like a particular road car, and indeed there's no regulations that state a road-going version has to be built. So the two Porsche Penske Motorsport cars, the 963s at the front of the field coming onto the start-finish straight now, don't look like Porsche 911s, but if you look carefully, you can see that their headlamp signatures are very much a Porsche feature nowadays, with those 4 headlamps. Look along the sides and look to the back of the car. You'll see certainly echoes of cars from Porsche's motor racing past as they're travelling in team formation at the moment, although it's the number 7 car ahead of the number 6. The 7 has the black pinstripes and black side swoosh. The 6 has the white pinstripes and side swoosh. That's how you can tell them apart. And fin, as Jeremy has just mentioned to me in my ear. And in those cars, we have Nick Tandy in the number 6, Felipe Nasr in the number 7. And not everyone has gone out straight away, and even some people who have gone out come straight back in. Now, Tactically here, Jeremy, I'm intrigued here. You mentioned the tyre situation. 4 sets of tyres only for the whole weekend. That's 2 free practices, a qualifying and a 100-minute race, but only 2 sets of tyres, 2 sets of new tyres from now until the end of the race. Are we going to see both of those sets used in qualifying? You're allowed to do it. Will they actually do it?
I think they just have. I'm not sure that they're not 100% sure that number 10 car has turned a lap already. Of course, in the past, up until this year, once qualifying starts, you cannot touch the car. You certainly can't do a tyre change. So that is one of the changes for this year. The sessions get extended by 5 minutes to 20, and they are allowed to change tyres. And that was critical at Daytona, where the number 60 car made that late change and got the pole position. Albeit, well, yeah, we won't go there. It's too long to explain what happened after that. But at Sebring, it kind of backfired for that team. But here, the Porsche have already done a couple of laps, and now they're coming in to change tyres. Now, these are the only 2 sets of tyres they can use from here on in.
Correct.
So I think what they're doing there, they're just taking the sheen off that first set of tyres.
Yeah.
And now, so that they'll be almost new, just to get the sheen off for tomorrow's race. And they will use that in the second part of the race tomorrow, because they do have to start the race on the set of tyres with which they qualify. So now the plan will those teams and set the lap that will qualify them on the grid for this race.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, Jeremy. Michelin race slicks, easily identified by that sheen that Jeremy was talking about. They use a compound of silver oxide as a release agent in the moulds that they make the tyres, the racing tyres down at Clermont-Ferrand towards the south of France, the South Midi, I suppose you would call it. Fantastic old road circuit there and a permanent race circuit. Now, they are taking things very, very easy at the moment. Very, very easy. Nobody has put any great energy into that first set of tyres, Jeremy. And now we'll see 12 and a half minutes of a bit of cat and mouse here, I think, as they bring the second set of brand new Michelin slicks up to temperature and pressure.
Yeah, as a race fan, I want to get back to the 15-minute sessions, no tyre changes. Just get out there, get on with it, do the lap time, and then for the race, you could have done it under the old regulation. You could have scrubbed in the set of tyres for the race this in one of the 2 practice sessions earlier today. But now, as you said a little while ago, they've got 4 sets total for the quote-unquote weekend, so Friday, Saturday. But 2 of those only can they use in qualifying and tomorrow's race. So there's different rules, and I prefer the old one, but whatever. That's it's still going to be an exciting qualifying session from now on in. The first 5 minutes are total waste of time, in my opinion. But the last 10 should be really spectacular. We're now going to find out, John, aren't we? How fast are these cars? We've already talked about it earlier, the fact that in the first 2 sessions, significantly quicker than the times that were set 1 year ago in the old DPI cars. So I spoke to several drivers this morning who really liked cars around here. So they're really fun to drive. The Acura suspension, they say, in the drivers is a lot better than on the DPI cars. So they feel really confident going to this session. And that's what you see in those first 2 practice sessions. The Acura's out front ahead of everybody else. In fact, it was BMW, Yellowly, first time here at Long Beach. He was 3rd fastest in that second practice session a little earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, and he was the only one anywhere near him, to be honest. And he was, 3/10 of a second back. There was a couple of tenths between the 2 Acuras, and they were swapping and changing throughout that 1 hour 45-minute session. But now, with just 8 cars on the track, there should be no problem with traffic. Should be no problem with traffic. 10 minutes to go, and don't expect to see super quick laps immediately. And I say that, and there's a 17.5 as a warm-up
that's
lap
not
from Sebastian Bourdais. That's
See what he does now.
Yeah, that's much quicker than anybody else has gone in the opening laps. That's a good second and a half. Across the line in the gold-fronted 01 Cadillac, very, very low at the ground and scraping the back end. And he goes down to a 14.6, but now he's trying. Now he's really trying. And we've got traffic. I can't believe it, coming down to turn 8. And an Acura goes down the inside. Both Acuras going down the inside of the number 7 Porsche. So Porsche taking it easy and locking up the right front Michelin for Felipe Nasr going into 6, and both the Acuras 10 and the 60 carving their way past Felipe Nasr, who is on a completely different warm-up strategy.
Yeah, that's one thing I told. All of the drivers told me this morning. They're careful not to do exactly what Felipe Nasr did there. Lock up those tyres, damage the tyres, because they've only got those 2 sets. That's all they have for today and tomorrow. And Bourdais in particular this morning told me, look, they were slowest in that first session by quite a margin, actually, in the number 01 car, the Cadillac, 12.2, so almost a couple of seconds behind the fastest Acura. But he said a part of that was we just didn't get the braking right on our car in that first session, but also we just didn't want to push too hard because we didn't want to damage the tyres.
Yeah, understand that. Augusto Farfus continues the good performance that we've seen so far this weekend by BMW. Best of the rest they were, dare we say that. At the moment, it's Bourdais with a 13.0, then a 14.8. Neither of those times will be quick enough. We're going to knock 2 or 3 seconds away from that. The track is 84 Fahrenheit or 29 Celsius. This is perfect, with an air temperature hovering around 17 or 63 Fahrenheit. And now we'll see what the pace of these cars are. Blomqvist, last time around, an 18.6, still bringing everything up to temperature. Philippe Albuquerque, a 13.3. There's Blomqvist, a 14.4. This is tippy-toe stuff at the moment, Jeremy. This is fascinating.
Yeah, really interesting, isn't it? I'm surprised it's taken them this long to really get these cars to stretch their legs. But, there's still plenty of time left in the session, still 7.5 minutes. So, they're going to bring these tyres up. They are difficult to bring up to temperature, so they are going to want to make sure that they are fully up to temperature before they do that push lap. We have to see now how costly that lockup might be for Felipe Nasr in a number 7 Porsche.
He has got another set of tyres to go back to, I suppose. If he wanted to, it was a little lockup on the right front. I'm not sure how much is that going to cost him. We're starting to see the times come down, and then Bourdais is the one who's furthest through his run plan, and he's down to a 1:12.9, and there goes Albuquerque across the line at 11.5. More like it. This is more like it, but I think there's another second and more to come out of this, Jeremy.
Yeah, well, we'll find out. The fastest time this morning at 10.3. The lap record around here for the DPI cars was a 9.4 by Sebastian Bourdais last year in what was a dominant performance by the Frenchman.
No LMP2s this weekend, just the GTPs and the 2 classes of GT cars for a tidy 28-car grid. Bourdais back to the top, keeps chipping away at 11.5. Half a tenth or so better than Philippe Albuquerque. Then it's Blomqvist for the 60 Acura, then Farfus and Yellowly, the 2 BMWs in number and team order, 24 from 25. Then Alexander Sims on qualifying. Interesting, not Pete Motorani, but Alex was very, very quick at the end of the session earlier on today in the Cadillac V Series R. Was good at bringing a time out of that car after multiple fast laps. Albuquerque gets down to a 10.9, but 10.7 now. Still waiting for somebody to go under 70 seconds. Is that possible with these new cars? down into the and around the fountain for Blomqvist. Looks like that both of the Acuras again, Jeremy, are dialed right in, 0.2 of a second between them, and they're the only cars at the moment in the 1 minute 10s.
Yeah, but still, they're still 4 away from that fastest time this morning.
4.5 minutes to go. You would think that you really would think that the track conditions were a bit better now, because it's not quite so hot. It was 108 Fahrenheit, so well over 40 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
And you would have thought
plus
that
a bit
was
more. Yes, excuse me, John. Plus a bit more rubber laid down than there was in that earlier session this afternoon. There goes Albuquerque, 10-4. 10-4 also for Blomqvist. So those two, nothing separated them at the moment. 0.061 of a second.
Bourdais losing a lot of time in the last sector. A lot of time in the last sector. He must have lifted off there to try and get a bit of a gap. There goes Bourdais. That's better. That's an 11 flat. Yeah.
So that's more than a second faster than he went in the earlier practice session, the second of the day, early this afternoon.
Two Porsche Penske's way back down. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Yeah. Nick Tandy 2 seconds away. Alex Sims 2 seconds away for Whelen Cadillac. Felipe Nasr 2 seconds away for the number 7. There must still be some time. They've got plenty of time, still 3 minutes and change, so they've got time, but they have got to put a lap together here, Jeremy.
They have, and they've not been. What's the fastest time by the Porsche so far? Earlier was a 12.1. Actually, both of them 12.1 early this afternoon. The best they've done now is a 12.3 for Tandy, number 6 car, and a 12.6 for Felipe Nasr after. There's a bit quicker there for Philip Albuquerque, but 10.371, and it's fractionally quicker than Tom Blomqvist managed in the earlier session.
Last 2.5 minutes. Who's on a quick one? Sims jumps up to 4th position. This is what we saw in the earlier session, in the second free practice session. Sims able to coax time out of the Michelin tyres and out of the Whelen 31 Cadillac. That's one with the red and white front end before it fades into the Cadillac V-Series grey at the back. And he's on another quick one.
Yes, he is. And I was going to ask you there, what do you think about the symmetry now? I know you like things to be nicely ordered. It was Acura, Cadillac, BMW, Porsche. But now Nick Yellowly jumped up to 3rd place. Albuquerque goes.
There it is.
Significantly quicker.
There it is, a 69-second lap for a prototype sports car around the streets of Long Beach. We've not seen that before. Extraordinary stuff. Even going back to the LMP1 days, we've not seen that kind of time around
9.4
here.
was last year. 9.4 last year was Bourdais' lap record.
In qualifying, yes.
In qualifying. So not quite down to that yet, but there's still time for possibly 2 more laps for Philip Albuquerque. He's one now. He'll have one more, I think, after this.
Sims has just done a
Great
cool
lap
down
by Yellowly.
Very
Third fastest there. First time here on the streets of Long Beach. Spoke to him this morning. Loves this place. The only street track I think he's done before is Monaco. And he says that the visibility is much better out here. The walls aren't so high as they are on the Principality. And he absolutely loves this racetrack, and he's showing it right now. 3rd fastest in a number 25 BMW.
Yeah, I think that was a slow down lap for Alexander Sims in the 31 Whelen car. And still the 2 Porsches, 2 seconds plus away. Now, they won't win the race here. Maybe there's something else going on in Porsche Penske Motorsport. Busy weekend for them, running a couple of cars as well at Portimao in the FIA World Endurance Championship. Huge weekend of motorsport. We've got it all for you across the network here in sound and vision. NLS round 3 tomorrow from 10:15 UK time. then straight into Portimao qualifying. Then we've got the race here at Long Beach, and the first of two Porsche Deluxe Carrera Cup races, one Saturday, one Sunday. And then on Sunday, it's Portimao for the 6 hours, and then that Porsche race. No need for you to go anywhere, just settle in and watch and listen. Lot to go, lot to get through tomorrow, and that's before we even talk about the IndyCar here on the streets. Checkered flag is out. Nick Yellerly sees it first. He will be no better than fourth position. Philippe Albuquerque wasn't improving on his 109.9, so he has pitted sitting on top. He's the leader in the clubhouse at the moment, and Tom Blomqvist hasn't improved. He'll be at best outside of the front row. So Bourdais is the man who can do it. What about the two Porsches? Tandy jumps up, but only a couple of places.
Bourdais slowed down on this lap, John, I think.
So it's down to Farfus. No, Farfus has pulled in. So Tandy found about 6.5 tenths and jumps to the outside of the third row. Bourdais pits, Farfus pits, Philippe Albuquerque, Konica Minolta Acura championship leaders are on pole position for the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach, and it is an Acura front row. There'll be some very happy PR people writing the releases this evening, Jeremy.
Yeah, indeed. A great lap there for Philippe Albuquerque. His third pole. You can see what it means to him. Look, this track has always suited the point and squirter, the big V8s from Cadillac the last several years. But Acura, they've got a really good car in them this year. The drivers tell me, Mike Shank was telling me this morning particularly, that the drivers feel that the suspension is much more pliable around here than the GPI cars of the past. And also the ICE, the internal combustion engine element to the powertrain, is better suited than was the little V6 that they had before. So what a day for Acura here. Home turf, HPD based up in Santa Clarita, only an hour less than that, depending on traffic, from here at Long Beach. So that's a great day for Acura today, and particularly for Konica Minolta, Acura Wayne Taylor Racing's team.
So the front row is an all Acura affair, 10 from 60. The Konica Minolta car on pole position. Then it'll be Cadillac 01, the Chip Ganassi run car, the gold-fronted machine. Then the two BMWs in fourth and fifth position, with the first of the Porsches, Nick Tandy for Porsche Penske Motorsport, in sixth outside of row 3. And on row 4, it will be Whelen Engineering's Cadillac and Felipe Nasser. That's how they'll start tomorrow. GTD Pro was Heart of Racing and Marco Sorensen for Aston Martin, and GTD Pro Jack Hawksworth for Vassar Sullivan. 100 minutes on the streets of Long Beach tomorrow. Join Jeremy Shaw and me, John Hindhaugh, for that. It's going to be an absolute cracker. Have a good Friday. Bye-bye.